Hello and welcome to Smaulgld's. In case you missed it, top gold and silver stories for the week ended January 28th, 2017. 20% tax on Mexican silver imports. That's something that may be on its way. We're going to talk about that and a few other things that President Trump has mentioned and what their possible implications are. So, a 20% tax on Mexican silver. How'd that come about? Well, the United States imports about a third to over half of its annual silver requirements from Mexico. So that could be a problem if there was a 20% tax on Mexican silver. And President Trump stirred up a lot of uncertainty during the week with his immigration ban executive order and talks of tariffs and wall building and Mexico paying for the wall. Before we get started, I just want to throw out a little historical note on the Mexican border wall. I view that as possibly being the modern day Maginot Line. And what does that mean? Well, after World War I, the French lost a lot of men, as did all the countries fighting in the war. And they decided they needed a way of defending their country that would not involve a tremendous amount of manpower lined up along the border. So they came up with this ingenious idea of using technology to create a defense that would be impenetrable to any attack from the east, concerned about another German invasion. And they spent a lot of time, effort, and money in building the Maginot Line, which is named after, I think the guy's name was Maginot, that's why it's called the Maginot Line, who created this kind of fortress, this line of fortifications in which every few miles there were these turrets and there were places where a few people could man the border. And it basically was a very good defense system. And it probably was impenetrable to a certain extent. And what happened, however, when Germany decided they were going to invade France, France had decided not to put the Maginot Line on the border with Belgium. Why? Well, Belgium was friendly and they did not want to offend the Belgians by putting up a defensive line at the border of their countries. So what did Germany do? They decided that when they were going to invade France, they would go around the Maginot Line, which they did, and they invaded through the lowlands of the Netherlands and Belgium and then into France. So the wall or the Maginot Line became basically ineffectual. Now, why do I say Mexico's border wall might be the new Maginot Line? Well, you build a wall along the southern border of Mexico, and you do prevent a lot of illegal immigrants from coming into the country. Now, that would eliminate the vast majority or the vast large numbers of immigrants into the country. But what it won't eliminate is those who want to come to the United States not to work or not to receive benefits, but to come to the United States to cause harm. So, for example, terrorists and drug dealers and criminals and the like will realize they too cannot scale the wall. So what they'll do is they will find ways to get to Canada. And from Canada, there is a wide open border with no wall whatsoever. So in effect, criminals, terrorists can just skate around this massive wall that may get built and may prevent 99, even 100% of people trying to get into the United States that way. Well, that'll just divert them to the northern border where there is no wall. Just a thought. In any event, let's go through the top stories of the week. So as we mentioned, Donald Trump created quite a stir with his immigration ban and his remarks on Mexico. Economically, silver rose for the fourth straight week in a row, and while gold slips. Now let's get into the Mexican silver issue. So a lot of people were concerned. I read a lot on Twitter about people worrying about tariffs on Mexico, would Mexican goods coming into the country. They were worried about the price of Corona going higher, or tequila. I, there's other beers and there's other liquors that people can drink. That's not the big deal. A bigger deal are the fruits and vegetables. That would raise the cost of food in the United States because beer and tequila can easily be replaced with substitute beer and substitute agave type spirits. But a tariff would increase the price of fruits and vegetables. And also, we get a lot of fruits and vegetables in the United States year round because they're imported from southern Mexico. Now, as to silver, many of the top silver mining companies in the world are located in Mexico, including the world's leading silver mining company, Fresnillo. And Mexico is the number one producer of silver in the world. It produced about 20% of the world's silver supply. They produced almost 200 million ounces in 2015, which is about 20% of the world's silver supply. Now, the United States in 2015 imported from various countries 215 million ounces of silver, of which about 33% came from Mexico. However, from 2011 to 2014, according to the United States Geographical Survey, the United States imported 54% of its silver over the course of those 4 years from Mexico. Mexico is also relying on exports to the United States for its silver. It exported about 35% of its total silver mining production in 2015. Now, Mexico could probably find other buyers for its silver, but the United States would be hard pressed to get silver from the other countries to make up the shortfall from Mexico if it wished to get silver without the 20% duty. Keep in mind that the United States Mint sold over 37 million ounces of silver just in the form of American Silver Eagles and America the Beautiful coins in 2016. And in 2017, they used over 47 million ounces of silver to produce those two coins. And U.S. silver production was only 35.4 million ounces, according to the Silver Institute in 2015. So it appears that there has to be imports of silver just to cover the coinage that is minted, plus the other industrial uses that are required in the United States. Now, the United States Geographical Survey does note currently there are no duties imposed on imports of unrefined silver or refined bullion. Well, that may change with a Trump flat tariff of 20%. We'll see. I'd like to know your thoughts on what impact that may have on the silver market, what impact it may have on the U.S. Mint ability to make and their interest in continuing to produce bullion type coins for collectors and investors. Gold closed the week down 1.5%, but silver managed to eke out a gain of about 6 cents. So that means that the gold silver ratio finally broke through 70 and down to 69.59. You could see there, because of the slight rise in silver, all of it which was on Friday, and gold did not manage to ratchet up that much, and probably it was because of the talk of tariffs that put the silver price higher, because silver would be impacted by that. There is no such pressing need for gold imports into the United States as there is silver. So it's probably a result of that. There was also a story, we'll get to it, about a German car manufacturer, I think it was Volkswagen, using silver to create a new type of windshield. So there'd probably be an additional industrial use. Put those two things together, that might have accounted for better sentiment in the silver market that didn't spill over to the gold market as well. Keep in mind, if you are enjoying these podcasts and the Smaulgld blog, you can donate to Smaulgld to help us out by PayPal or by Bitcoin. There's links below this podcast, YouTube, and you can click on them and donate directly, or you can go to the website and do that. Thank you very much for those of you who have made some generous donations. Chart of the week. Yeah, here's what I'm talking about. Silver mining output by country. There's your Mexican output For the last 2 years that have been reported, 2014 and 2015, nearly 200 million ounces, and the United States eats up a good portion of that. And you can see who else is on the list. China, you can't expect to get your supply from China. They basically keep all that silver in-house in China. And the US, as you can see, doesn't have a very robust silver mining production anymore. I think Alaska and Nevada are the two big silver mining states. Now, that could change. They could be with changes in environmental rules where they open up more permits if, as part and parcel of the import duty, they relax environmental rules and they say drill baby drill for more silver. We'll see what happens. But again, you can't just announce that and the silver doesn't start flowing for years. So there is a lag time between even relaxing environmental rules, exploration, research and development, and then actual production of silver. Another chart that's interesting is you got to focus a little. I'll make this a little bigger here. There you go. Okay, so you can see that the gold ETF demand is really what drives the silver price, because there's the price going up until 2011-12, and then as they sell off the ETFs, the price goes down. And this is 2016 right here. You can see 2016, the beginning of the year, there was a dramatic increase in gold ETF buying. That's about the middle of the year, and then it sold off towards the end of the year. You can just see it starting to tick back up. So that is a positive sign for the price of gold. Let's see. Okay, let's look at the stories of the week. Mongolia is interested in increasing its gold reserves to 150 tons by 2020. Click on the link and see that. If you are interested in buying gold or silver, and this is not investment advice, but if you are indeed interested and you've made the decision it's the right thing for you based on your circumstances, you can do so through the Smaulgld site, through our affiliates. We have links and banners below on the website and also below this YouTube video where you can compare prices and shipping of gold and silver products. And if you do buy through these links, you pay no more, no less than if you visited the sites directly, and Smaulgld gets a small commission. So please consider that. And I thank you, many of you who do indeed remember, when you're about to buy gold or silver, to go to the Smaulgld site or the Smaulgld YouTube videos and use those links. Thank you very much. Speaking of gold and silver sales, the U.S. Mint continued to update its gold and silver sales for the week. American Silver Eagles, they're about 4.7, then they sold a few more. They're still under 5 million for the month of January. Gold Eagles, I've got the daily reports here. I won't go through all of them, but they ended up, I think it was 80,000 1-ounce American Gold Eagle coins and about 30,000 1-ounce American Gold Buffaloes sold through the month. They also started to sell the American Platinum Eagles. They sold 1-ounce coins. They sold about, I think they sold 20,000 of those. They're all in the blog post. On Wednesday, I had a discussion with Sean at SGT Report. We kind of conflated two concepts: defensive voting, i.e. voting to protect your own interest, even though you're not necessarily voting in favor of a candidate, and also some of the things that Donald Trump has done. Well, this particular YouTube has garnered over 100,000 views. It seems to be controversial, though I don't think it's that controversial. I talked about defensive voting in the sense that using Lysander Spooner, who was actually an anarchist, and he viewed that even if you believe that voting is perhaps amoral and that you are using the vote to make somebody else do something and you don't have the right to do that, his point was that if you don't do it, someone's going to do it to you. So he kind of talked about the concept of defensive voting. That was part and parcel of our 30-40 minute discussion. You can check it out at the link here on smaulgld.com. I've embedded the YouTube video, or you can go over to SGT Report and check out the discussion there. Now in silver, we talked about Fresnillo, the world's #1 silver mining company, which is located in Mexico. and they released the results for 2016, and they had record gold and silver output. Here's the story about Volkswagen putting a invisible layer of silver in its new windshields to melt away snow. You could check out that story. U.S. economic data looks like mortgages applications are up, purchases were higher, refis were higher. It seems that the real estate market is still moving higher and sales seem to be increasing, though they're still far below where they used to be in the mid 2000s, even before. But prices are rising, and the home price index, as you can see, rose. And sales are also look like they're rising. Here's more on American Silver Eagles, American Gold Eagles, the daily sales results. There was a story out about how Indian households have a record 24,000 tons of gold. I had seen other reports that they hold about 18,000 tons. Put that in perspective, the U.S. supposedly has the world's the central banks and the largest central bank gold holding at 8,000. So if Indian households actually have 24,000 tons of gold, that's quite a lot. Keep in mind that according to the World Gold Council, there are only 170,000 tons ever mined. So that would mean that Indian households have about 14-15% of that. Speaking of which, India has one of the reasons India is always trying to stop their people from buying gold is it screws up their trade balance because they have to import so much gold and they don't export as much stuff. So they don't have domestic gold supply. So they're thinking about reviving this old gold mine that they have. I don't know how much is in there. You can click on the link and see what they have. I doubt it would satisfy their domestic demand, but it would probably ease some of the imports that they have. Initial claims, the economic data is really no different than it was a month ago, 2 months ago, although the trade balance did increase. And again, that's an area where a tariff quickly fixes that. It causes other issues, but that's the same thing that India does is they put an import duty on gold. They reduce the demand for gold. They somewhat help their trade imbalance, but it causes problems elsewhere. There was a priest caught smuggling gold bars disguised as chocolate in India. It's an interesting story. You can click on that. War on cash. We get it again. Europe proposes restrictions on cash payments. Read that story. I believe that was in Zero Hedge. Fourth quarter GDP came in under 2%, but consumer confidence was at a near multi-year high at 98.5. A lot of that is probably due to the media over the last 3-4 years insisting that the economy is rip roaring, and also there is some consumer confidence in that Donald Trump will be good for the economy. I don't know. I don't place much confidence in consumer confidence numbers because I don't think that the public at large really has a good handle on the state of the economy. I think they have a handle on what they're told the state of the economy is, and I'm sure in September of 1929 the consumers were extremely confident, and then boom, the whole thing came crumbling down and you had the Great Depression for many years. So consumer confidence being high to me doesn't mean anything. I think that's about it for the week. No, one more thing. We did have I've been updating the CIA memoranda on gold from the late 60s, early 70s, and eventually we'll cover their memorandum up until the early 1980s. And this the third episode in the series dealt with 1971 and the CIA's view on the gold market, the year that Nixon closed the gold window in the United States, went off the gold standard. So I'm not going to go into the details of that. It's on the YouTube channel. There is a playlist called CIA and Gold. You can check that out. You can go to the website. You can go to this blog post that I'll link below. And this one is called The Year the United States Sold 770 Tons of Gold. And the blog post is called Bleeding Gold Reserves at the Fastest Pace Ever. The United States Closes the Gold Window. Some interesting information in that one. That about does it. Please remember to donate and or subscribe to Smaulgld.com, this YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much.